Don't worry, Thomas. I'm with the stars now.
Psych, I actually didn't cry at the ending. So, not really sure how to start this video. Intro! So now I have 2,000 subscribers. This is crazy. I cannot thank you all enough for sticking around, for supporting me, for giving me all your nice comments and your mean ones to all that mushy BS. So now it's time to review it. Dear Starboy. And I'll be honest, I had no idea what to expect going in. Would I be a cynical skeptic about it, like the hipster I am? Would I cry at the ending, like everybody told me I would? Well, I didn't, but still, does this fanfiction hold up? Let's take a look to find out. Warning, this is my opinion. Not everything I say is factual, and if you want to share your opinion, there's a comment section below. Let's get on with it! So when I pulled up the first chapter, the first thing I noticed was the grammar. Now, it's not bad, especially for fanfiction, but there's no capital letters. Now, this is not a huge problem. In fact, it's as much as a nitpick as you could get. But for someone like me who is obsessed with getting the grammar right and, re-editing, it's just a slightly irritating for me. Just slightly. But enough of me being angry about a small thing, let's be angry about the big things. So what's the story? Well, it's an AU where Tom's a teenager and gets a new next-door neighbor. That neighbor, of course, being Tord. They bond over friendly bickering and give each other nicknames. Tord calls Tom Kitty Boy because of the awkward way they first met, and Tom calls Tord Starboy because of his obsession with stars and astrology. And that's pretty much the only real plot of the story. It doesn't really have a typical beginning, middle, and end, and that is by no means a bad thing. And the first few chapters were good at giving us character development and chemistry between our two leads. There are, of course, a few twists and turns, but most of them I could see coming a mile away. Oh boy, I wonder who this secret admirer writing letters to Tom is. SB? Those initials don't give us anything to work with. Seriously, it's the title of the story. It's obvious. Now, in this style of story that doesn't really have a story, the thing that has to hold up the most is the characters. If the characters aren't good, then the story feels like it's pointless. In a weird way, that's kind of why I like Eddsworld so much. Besides the comedy, it's a show about characters more than anything else. And this is an AU, so these characters have to be established and developed in the story. We've never seen them before. And as characters go, they were fine in the beginning. They certainly aren't the most original characters in the world, but they're definitely interesting when they interact. Tom is basically his same self, but with some anxiety sprinkled on top, because we gotta have some relatable drama, am I right? And Tord, well, literally just imagine the opposite of his character, and that's it. Always cheerful, the most adorable little thing, innocent, wears flower crowns all the time, eats cherries, and almond pancakes. The only aspect of him that's sort of similar to Tord is his lust for adventure.
Adventure is out there!
Which I actually think is an interesting counter to Tom's character. As for actual writing, besides the lack of capitalization, it's pretty good. The style is imagery-based, so it gives really colorful descriptions that match the fairy tale-esque setting. Something else I really enjoyed in the beginning was the feel-good tone of the story. Everything about the story in the beginning seems so likable and charming, so I could definitely see why people like the story. However, this tone does come with an overwhelming amount of cheesiness. And don't get me wrong, I like a little cheesiness here and there, but this on-the-nose dialogue makes it really hard for me to take the story seriously. And now for the cheesiest lines of dialogue in Dear Starboy. Keep in mind that none of this is paraphrasing, these are all actual lines in the fic. Make sure you don't cringe so hard that your face becomes permanently contorted into a wincing position. I'm Tord, your new neighbor, friend, possible love interest, comrade, pal. Stardust flows through our veins. Really? Yep, we are all stars in our own way. I wouldn't really consider myself a star. I sure would, Tom. You are really dazzling. I thought it'd be a nice stargazing spot. It's always the stars with you. Yep, I want to be one. You are a star. Stop! It's already too much! Oh, you're only on chapter 3, man. We're only on chapter 3? My God! I almost feel like this is satire with the silly dialogue and the flower crowns and all that, but I don't think that's even remotely possible. But is this cheesiness a bad thing? Not really. It fits with the tone and it rarely gets to the point of being annoying, but one reason I didn't cry at the ending was because I just never took the story seriously. However, that's not my biggest problem with the fic. You may notice that I used past terms to describe what I liked about this fic, mostly because almost halfway through, the story started moving twice as fast as it was before, and never explained anything. Then I realized the horrible mistake I made giving this fanfic credit. It became an insta-romance. For some reason, Tom is just in love with Tord. There's no turning point or anything, he just is. So then when they get together, they start using the L word casually after dating for like a day? Realism! Oh yeah, and Tom's dad's an abusive alcoholic too. Sure, why not? Tom gets arrested for drinking underage and then almost immediately gets bailed out just for a cameo of the pilots that lasts like one paragraph. Hearing mention of the pilots always brings a smile to my face. Oh yeah, and I guess it was also to stir up the conflict with Tom and his dad, which eventually leads to Tom breaking up with Tord because his dad makes him break up with Tord. And just like that, he doesn't even give it a second thought. He doesn't tell Tord what happened. He just decides to break his heart. Oh yeah, because we haven't seen a misunderstanding and a romance that can be solved easily with communication and honesty before. Is there anyone who actually likes that cliche? Like, anyone? So now it's finally time to talk about the ending. If you for some reason haven't gotten off the video yet and don't want spoilers, get off this video now. I will count to 5 and see if my wounds from being beaten to death by the hate comments have had time to heal. They have not. So because Tord is so incredibly heartbroken, he self-harms, something we've never known he does, and then he drowns himself. Oh yeah, that's right, he went with the stars. Oh, it's so sad. I don't understand why this misunderstanding was caused in the first place. Like, it doesn't add to the drama, it just makes it annoying. And it makes the angst seem not worth it. And you want angst to be, you know, worth it. So that it actually leaves an impact. How did these characters start off pretty likable and then turn into the most idiotic people? They throw in the origin of Tom's drinking and hatred of Christmas at the end, but this confuses me because this is meant to be an AU that's supposed to be like, not like the original show. You have to pick one. Either make it similar to the show in some way, or nothing like the show. You can't just flip-flop like that when you're doing an AU. And then there's the final paragraph, and I just don't get it. Tom writes a letter, and then we never see the contents of the letter. Like, literally. I will show you. Like, okay, I'm scrolling through. Finally, the pen connected with the page and scribbled a neat line at the top. Dear Starboy. We scroll? Let's see what... The end. What? Oh yeah, by the way, I know there's a sort of sequel to this, but I don't care because the ending still sucks. Really, guys? This is the most popular Eddsworld fanfiction ever made? I will give it this. The first 6 or 7 chapters were pretty good. There was a decent amount of good character development, and yeah, they did have a certain charm to them. But the second half is too short and confusing. It needed a better conflict that wouldn't result in such an underwhelming ending. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to cry at the end of this story. I had low expectations, but this fic just blew those low expectations out of the water. And there goes a boatload of my subscribers, straight to the dislike and unsubscribe button. Having unpopular opinions is fun. If you don't want to cut me, enjoyed this review, and want me to do more, leave some fanfiction requests in the comments. I'd love to read them and analyze, and yes, I will take all ships. If you want to know what's going on in my boring afterlife, here's a clip.
Bro, wait for it. Wait for it. Boom!
That's all I gotta say, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.